Thank you for being here and a very warm welcome. I'd like to just request everyone to please switch off the mobile phones. Before we begin the evening's proceedings, let me get into the real reason why we're here. We're here to reflect on the growth of the internet, particularly the milestones that have transformed our world, and to reflect on the future, to get a glimpse into what the internet will have in store for us and how it will change the landscape we know today. But before that, I would like to take a few minutes to give you a brief introduction to VeriSign. VeriSign is the company that keeps the internet connected, always. Every day the internet makes countless possibilities in ways never before imaginable. And every day VeriSign strives to enable the full potential of the internet through its management of the indispensable infrastructure for .com and .net. More about that through a short film on VeriSign.
So, good evening.
Thank you for coming. We would like to welcome the ministers and the directors of government, captains of industry, friends of VeriSign, and proliferators of the internet. Manish made it sound like I had a really great job, so I'm looking forward to this. So, March of 1985. 25 years ago, a small Massachusetts company registers the very first .com domain name, Symbolics.com. By the end of 1985, there are 6 registrations in .com. 2 years after that, there are 60 registrations within .com. And just to let you know where we are today, every minute we see that same number of registrations within .com. So 60 registrations of new domain names every single minute. The original companies that got involved with the internet in terms of early domain names, IBM, AT&T, Cisco, Intel, they all saw vision of what the internet could and could not be, and they were part of that initial 60. By the time we got to 1992, there was still less than 15,000 domain names, and I can remember having a discussion when I worked for Electronic Data Systems at the time as to whether it was really important to make a $150 investment to get a 2-year registration for EDS.com. The world started to change. The National Science Foundation awarded a contract to a small company called Network Solutions to operate ComNet Nord. And shortly after that, we saw the development of the browsers. So Mosaic comes online, people can access more content. We have a commercial operation that's growing on the internet. Did I get something wrong? Yeah, so commercial operation running the internet. And we started to see growth. So that by 1997, we actually get to the first 1 million domain names within .com. And the interesting thing, at that point in time, was the first time I ever heard that .com was full. All the good names were taken from .com. So we certainly have grown beyond that. So that same year, we processed about 18 billion transactions within the domain name system in an entire year. Today, that takes about 8 hours. So we do about 60 billion transactions every single day on average within the constellation that VeriSign runs, with peaks of 70 to 80 billion. I sat down with my father last fall and shared that with my dad. My dad started out as a computer programmer in 1962. And as I shared that with him, for the first time in my dad's life, he had nothing to say. He couldn't comprehend, as a programmer from programming the 60s and the early 70s, what 80 billion of anything meant within a computer system. And so we've come a long way, and the opportunity to grow continues today. I want to highlight the value and the importance of internet addressing. So we started out last March with an event in Washington, D.C., where we talked about policy. And it was very important to talk about policy from the perspective of being in Washington, because in 1998, the Clinton administration did something, or rather, they didn't do something, in terms of policy around the internet. They actually made a decision to leave the internet alone. And Mr. Clinton came and joined us it was the keynote speaker at this event. And he recognized that because it was an opportunity to let the internet live its own life, to grow and to prosper in a public-private partnership between industry and the government. It established a multi-stakeholder internet governance model that allowed for multiple stakeholders to participate in the decisions that would help drive the internet. And so it was very important that we have that in DC and have Mr. Clinton recognize that. We had another event in San Francisco in May of last year, and that was more fun. We had a good time with that. And we also recognized a lot of the entrepreneurs of the internet, the Vint Cerfs, the Paul Malcolm Petruses, We recognized their contribution to the growth of the internet. We also recognized 10 of our customers at VeriSign who helped grow .com over time. And actually one of them is in the room today with his team. Bob Intrachia, who is the CEO and president of DirectEye, was recognized as one of the proliferators of .com around the globe.
Content today, to download a video requires a tremendous amount of infrastructure and investment in the infrastructure to move forward with that. Machine-to-machine communication, as we get away from an internet that's about web content and email addresses, we're going to see more machines talking to machines. And then we're going to see more applications that drive additional traffic. For example, Google Chrome, when it displays results on a page, actually does something called prefetching, where it goes out and grabs the IP address of every single link on that page, creating additional traffic for the DNS. But the internet is not only larger, it's actually becoming more essential in our lives and in our businesses. In 2010, it's estimated that $1 trillion US were generated in e-commerce within the infrastructure that VeriSign operates. By 2013, it's believed that we will see $16 trillion globally flow through the internet infrastructure. IT will come on our healthcare records will come online, smart grid applications will come online, so we'll find more uses within the internet over time. So the infrastructure is key. It requires stability, security, resiliency, and the investment to be able to do what we have to pay attention to within the internet. WikiLeaks has been very much in the news since the fall. And when you think about WikiLeaks and all the companies that decided they were not going to do business with WikiLeaks, what happened? They received a huge denial of service attacks from a socially aware or socially conscious community. The reason why that's interesting is because they used a toolkit that was freely available called low orbit ion cannon. And so people became aware and became part of a herd mentality to generate DDoS attacks against the likes of PayPal, Citibank, and anybody who decided not to do business with WikiLeaks. So we have a lot of people that have access to fast-powered machines, lots of bandwidth, generating denial of service attacks. Something much more sinister is a toolkit called Zeus that you may or may not be familiar with. But for the low price of $5,000 US, you could actually acquire a toolkit that will allow you to steal keystrokes, compromise identities, get people's credit card numbers, and basically create havoc. So we have to focus on the criminal element within the DNS infrastructure as well when we look forward. We also have a tremendous number of intensive use technologies that are being introduced within the core infrastructure. IPv6, and we talked about IPv4 being exhausted, but Internet Protocol version 6, which has 340 trillion addresses, so that's 27 zeros of address space within the internet. So we have a lot of growth, a lot of room to grow moving forward. DNSSEC, which is Domain Name System Security Extensions, the ability to authenticate a transaction so that you don't have man-in-the-middle attacks, you don't have cache poisoning, and an internet end user can, with certainty, determine that he's getting the right in every possibility that they could imagine, because nobody had been to the hostile environment of the moon. So they had to do a lot of work. So we don't know what that hostile environment will look like between now and 2020. So that's why we call it Project Apollo. So that's what VeriSign has done over the last 25 years. But what does that mean from an India perspective? We're also here to talk about 15 years of the internet within India. In 1995, BSNL brought the first commercial service for internet access to India. In 1998, we saw the first .in domain name be registered for the National Center for Software Technology. Just this past week, when I arrived in Delhi on Monday, or Sunday, and I was here with the Department of Commerce Secretary, Gary Locke. And being on that mission, the one thing the mission was supposed to target and talk about was the partnerships and opportunities that we have between American companies and Indian companies to grow jobs here and in the United States. But the one quote that kept coming up again and again and again was the quote from President Obama when he was here in November, was that India is no longer emerging. India has emerged. And that's very true from the standpoint that India is already a global internet power, and is poised to even have more influence over the future of the internet evolution. There is a large, savvy community here. It's the fourth largest internet population, 81 million users. It is also has around 2 million identities between .com, .net, .in, and several other top-level domains. It's got a tremendous engineering capability. It's got tremendous expertise and talent, and a beautiful entrepreneurial community. I had the good fortune on Wednesday morning to go down to the Cisco facility in Bangalore, and what I saw was some of the things that they were doing. And they're building a healthcare system that takes advantage of the internet. They will actually bring better healthcare to the rural community. What the team there shared with me is that 70% of India is in a rural community, yet only 10% of the doctors service that community. So they've developed an internet-based solution that will actually allow first visits to doctors occur with nurse practitioners or other type of personnel in the field, while that first consult is done by a doctor in an urban area. Reduces the healthcare and provides better healthcare for the community. So that's what the internet can bring, and that's what the internet will do towards the future. It is also a hotbed of innovation within commerce. We have Snapdeal, IRCTC, and Naukri that are doing things around jobs and employment. So we see it being used as a tool today. But how do we get it to be more, how do we get it to be used more for additional e-commerce? What is it that we take in .com where we have $1 trillion of e-commerce flow through .com? How do we make that happen as well here? Well, I think it's going to be a perfect storm with everything coming together. With the development of 3G, the discussions that are going on around the build out of wireless broadband, it's starting to get real in terms of what the growth is, what the explosion will look like. The advent of tablets, we bring richer content to the end user, we drive more commerce into the community. IDNs are also going to be very important as we communicate in their own language, in their own manner, and reaching their own customers in their own language. So I see an opportunity for the internet to grow, and this is the new world for the internet. And when I thought about preparing for this presentation and this opportunity to speak, a quote from George Santayana, who is a Spanish-American philosopher, came to mind. And it was, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. And I think about the past, and I look towards the future, and I think we tweak it a little bit different in our space. And I believe that those who remember the past are compelled to improve it. And how do we do that? If we take a look at the past and what we're moving forward, public-private partnerships, multi-stakeholder governance models, investment in security, stability, and resiliency at the core of the internet so that innovation can and will occur at the edge. Now you think about online destinations. So 25, 30 years ago, when Vinsurf invented TCP/IP, putting IPv4 in place, said 4.3 billion destinations should be enough. I think today the question is, will 340 trillion destinations be enough for the future? Thank you very much.
The networking boom, which makes one wonder how we ever kept in touch before this. All this and more is captured in the next film. It's a tribute to the internet in India.
At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, Mrs. Verisign, for giving me the opportunity of sharing some perspectives on internet in India. The previous speaker, Mr. Pat King, has covered a large canvas, so that leaves my job a little simpler because I come to a smaller geographic confine as internet in India because he's covered it from a global perspective. Man is a social animal and he loves to communicate. Like throughout history, all inventions, whether it is the wheel, the printing press, the electric lamp, the phone, and the mobile. All of them have been in this particular genre. They have had the effect of transforming our lives. Transforming our lives in the sense that we get to meet trade, interact more with one another. While doing so, the constant interplay of human interactions, each one have been in what I would call isolated mode. Through a phone you speak or a mobile you speak. Through the aircraft you travel. Through some other mechanism you take a photograph. Through TV you broadcast. The internet is a very interesting phenomenon. It's a converging phenomenon. The internet is characterized by the carrier, the content, and the delivery. I think that makes it very interesting in the sense that this particular technology is not an invention in that conventional sense, but it's an innovation. It's an innovation because it has brought many technologies together and has impacted our lives. Common service centers are nurtured through the mechanism of village level entrepreneurs in order that the village level entrepreneur plays the interface between the villagers and the services to be offered through this particular mechanism. The kiosk would thus give government to citizen services, and it is here that I feel the large mass of people who are seated here, who are entrepreneurs, who are, I would say, technology wizards, can definitely play a major role to see that the citizen services can be enhanced. Since you have the access point, you can have the offerings. So if that particular delivery can be done in the local language, that will definitely add to the growth of the internet, because unless and until there is a demand, the supply will not be there. So you must ensure that there is a modicum of service so that there is a fueling of demand, and as demand is fueled, you would be able to innovate and offer more services. I would leave that as a thought for the private sector to see how to catalyze this into action. I'll now come to the other area of a government or a public infrastructure, which would be very innovative to see that we are able to see that education reaches the far-flung areas. This is the mechanism of the National Knowledge Network. The National Knowledge Network is primarily a multi-gigabit fiber backbone, which will interconnect about 1,500 plus institutions of higher learning and research across the length and breadth of the country. Typically, all the universities and research institutions or laboratories, whether they belong to the atomic energy, space, defense, the ICAR, CSIR, ICMR, GENRE, all of them will be interconnected. What is the purpose? The purpose is cross collaboration. You could have research irrespective of the distance. So you could have cross-functional teams at different locations. Universities and academic institutions and research laboratories could collaborate.
Government and industry thought leaders and academicians in India and Asia. Its title is a combination of the word Internet and Chakra, the latter defining the passage of time and transformation. Net Chakra is the vision and tireless effort of the Digital Empowerment Foundation, of Osama Manzar, the CEO of DEF, and Madan Mohan Rao, the editor of the book. DEF is a not-for-profit organization whose mission is to help bridge the digital divide through the use of information technology. DEF hosts the popular Manthan and N Billionth Awards, both aimed at encouraging grassroots innovations in ICT. Osama Manzar is a convert social entrepreneur spearheading the mission to overcome the information barrier between India's rural sector and the developed society through DEF. Osama has, to his credit, over 100 ICT development cases in India and South Asia. He has travelled to more than 1,000 villages in India and has a tremendous understanding of rural India. Dr. Madan Mohan Rao is a consultant and author from Bangalore. He is the editor of a 5-book series including the Asia Pacific Internet Handbook and the Knowledge Management Chronicles. He is a frequent speaker on the international conference circuit and has given talks and lectures in over 75 countries around the world. May I request Osama and Madan to please come to stage and say a few words about the book Net Chakra.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Manish. And thanks for recognizing that putting together such a kind of, journey for the last 15 years was important. Just to tell you, he has introduced more than what I am. And so just to tell you that what is the journey of this Net Chakra. Chakra is the time and net is what we have been hearing for the last an hour. And the thought came for the last 1 year, and the history goes back to 10 years back. Have you brought the book? This is a book that we did about 10 years back on Internet Economy of India. And till date it is quoted as, we were the only one who calculated $22 billion was invested in India as new money in 2000 years. We calculated each and every headline and investment in the country. New money means, which is in the area of .com, internet and all that. And when 10 years was over, my friend Ashish Sanyal and Amir and all, they said that why don't you compile another one? It is already a decade. So we thought that rather than saying 10 years, why don't we say 15 years of internet? And we started compiling, and we thought that there is it's beyond the human capacity to encompass 15 years of internet journey. So we thought that let's get in touch with all the friends who have been passing through the journey, who have been lived the journey, who have experienced it, either for the good or bad. Why don't we invite all of them to write about it? We approached about 50, 60 people, and 35 of them are in this book, which is going to be revealed just a little while. And it really captures, and after compiling, we suddenly realized that, oh my God, it's numbing, It's 400 pages, 35 people telling their stories and how they lived for the last 15 years. It's a story from the regulators, from the policymakers, for the people who envisage internet to reach each and every person in the country, which is 1.2 billion country, only 80 million we are talking, so there is a lot of scope. So it's a journey that you will read and you will learn from it, and of course there might be a lot of mistakes in the book which we will have to live with, as we live in India with lots of mistakes. So Madan, would you like to say?
Yeah, I just want to. We have about 35 plus contributors in the book, and not all of them are here, but I do want to recognize all of them and invite them to stand up as I read out their names. And I want all of you afterwards to go and buy them a drink. Well, there's a free bar, so that's very easy. But please do shake their hand and ask them to sign the book. Okay? Let me read out some of the names of those who are here now. Dr. S. Ramani, will you please stand up? He first brought the internet to India in the 1980s through ERNet, the Education and Research Network, a true pioneer and a giant in this field. Rajesh Jain, in the corner sitting on
this book for the generations to come and the people to think. And one final wish that I have as an internet is that I treat it personally as the best democracy and the most universal democracy in the world. And also this is the only medium which is a permanent medium, and India has an opportunity to put the entire content and knowledge and wisdom onto this to make the world learn from it. Not only that we learn from the world, but we also help in learning the world from the Indian wisdom. Well, that's it from us.
And just to wrap up, please do check out the website netchakra.net. One of the best parts of the website is there is an online chronology, and if there's anything missing in that chronology, send us an email and we'll update it. We've got comments from the Association of Internet Researchers, from the Oxford Institute saying this is one of the best features of any chronology of the internet in any country in the world. So I think it's a matter of pride for us that we can all put this together. The only thing I would add is we tried to capture as much as we could in this book over the last 15 years, but there's a lot that we haven't been able to capture, but we will do that online and in the second volume. Some of the things that have changed a lot over the last 15 years is both Osama and I had a lot of hair in those days. Now I've got a bit of a biryani belly also, but that's a different question. But I would say another very interesting trend is 15 years ago people would compare India with the US. India has so many users, US has that many. India has this much bandwidth, US has that much bandwidth. Today there's a new country that people compare India to, and that is China. And I was in Singapore on Monday and I picked up a very interesting book called Red Wired, China's Internet Revolution. But today I want you to read this book, which you shall see afterwards. Thank you.